Hello, everybody, and hope you've all been enjoying the shorts and the kind of TikTok things. But we're back to my old prehistoric system today because there's something I'd like to bring you some information on. Now, I'm making it fairly discreet, so I'm putting it on Rumble and BitChute with a link. Obviously, you followed the link here, rather than making it public on YouTube, just because, I don't want to get extra followers just off the back of analyzing something like this. But at the same time, it's a huge story, and I've got lots to say that I don't feel is being totally covered by certain other people. We are, of course, talking about the disappearance of Nicola Bulley, and what I've got up here is the map, which I think is a great place to start. If you guys aren't in the UK, I'm sure you've heard of it. Everyone seems to have heard of it around the world. But basically, this lady, 45 years old, 2 children, a partner of 12 years, was on her regular routine, dropping her kids off at school, walking her dog Willow, which is a Springer Spaniel, and disappears into thin air. The police were convinced for 2 weeks she'd gone into the river, which was the last place she was kind of seen, was by the river walk. Phone and the dog's harness was found with the dog at the bench where she was may have been sitting at some point, or where she may have used as a base while she played with the dog. And like I say, the police ruled out a third-party involvement. They were ruling out anything suspicious. They were very focused she was in the river. There have been extensive searches now by other specialists outside of the police, as you all know. No such luck. Now, a couple of interesting, and I have done 2 charts, which we're going to look at as well. So now she starts off around here, which is near the school. There's the Church of England school is around here. There you go. Church of England school, where she drops the children aged 6 and 9, makes her way with the dog past the church here. She walks, goes over the bridge, and she walks along here, and she ends up at the bench, which is over there. That's where the bench is. That's where her phone is found with the dog harness and the dog. The last sighting of her is at about 10 past 9 over here in what's called the upper field, right? I mean, I don't know how accurate these last sightings are, because people wouldn't have had a reason to check their watch at the time they saw her, would they? On her Facebook, it seems like it can sometimes be very misty in that area, because some Facebook pictures showed her walks in November, because she was very big on photographing these walks. She had a Fitbit as well, and she liked to document her walks, and she often used to post them on social media. And she was posting in November. It was very misty, and I thought if it was misty that day, how good was the visibility for anyone to really see her? But it seems from a weather report that I looked back, a historic weather report, that it was not misty that day, so it's possible. Okay, first thing I have to say is there was a sighting of a witness of Nicola at, I think it was 7 minutes to 9, around here on the path on the way, this path along the river on the way, which she takes. Okay, there was a sighting of her by a fellow dog walker, and they interacted, and I think they did know each other. Interesting story. Let's look at that now. Hope this is coming up. Now, this is a picture of the person. Now, the police put that out, and they were appealing for this person to come forward. And it turned out, after numerous appeals for this person to come forward, that she had already come forward, and she was actually the witness that saw Nicola at the 7 minute to 9 time. Okay, I'll just say she emailed her boss at 1 minute to 9. She logged on to this works call in which she didn't participate. She was only listening in, and then never logged out, which was when the phone was found. Obviously, she disappeared during the time of the works call. And she'd also either emailed or phoned or texted a friend of hers to arrange some sort of dinner date, and also a friend's play date in the time after this woman apparently saw her. Now, this to me, CCTV highly suspect. First of all, what's going on with the dog's tail? That looks weird. What's going on with the woman's face? Either she's got a visor on and a mask, a COVID mask, or why is this hat not connected to the face? This looks really strange. Jacket, very bright red, all the other colours are very muted. The dog and her quietly brightly coloured. Who are these people in the background? Look at this, there looks like a man. You can see his arm, he looks like he's got a vest summer top. Looks like he's standing next to a woman. There are 2 legs. Someone suggested this might even look like a pram. Now, I wondered if this was a situation of ghosting. Say the CCTV from this person's doorbell footage. This was doorbell CCTV footage from a neighbour or someone in the area. Maybe there was interference between the signal from the CCTV and the device, and the interference caused ghosting, and it tuned into some other television signal and picked up these two people. I don't know, it's possible. But look at something else. All foliage, look, full foliage, and look at this, summer weeds, nearly a foot high yellow summer weeds. So look, I'm not saying anything, but look, if I was a lawyer in a court, a barrister, an advocate, I'd have this photo thrown right out of court because it looks messed up. This cannot account for these people. This looks like summer all around here. She's in a coat like winter. Her face is distorted. The dog's tail is distorted. So I don't know what's going on with that picture. Right, next thing, let's go back to the map here. All right, so there's this big question of why the dog didn't follow her. So if she fell in the river, you know, there was a lot of talk of the dog used to have a ball and she threw the ball and the ball might have gone in the river and maybe she went to get the ball and fell. Rubbish. Are you not going to go? And she looked quite proud in the way she was dressing, like dressing in nice clothing, and she seemed to be a very neat person. I mean, why would you get all messy for a bleeding tennis ball? It wouldn't figure, would it? And then the friend who's been very vocal, the one who set up the GoFundMe for 100,000 but then had to pull back on that because it wasn't appropriate, the friend said, oh no, she used to take the ball, but the dog got kind of addicted to the ball and was always pestering the ball and it was ruining the walk, so she stopped taking the ball because the ball was just creating a bit of a nuisance. And I was like, did her new best friend have this conversation about the dog's ball? It seems like such intimate knowledge. It seemed like, you know, when you get these things in court cases and in crime stories, and when a witness offers too much information in too much detail about something quite banal, it's suspicious. So, I mean, it just struck me. Look, I'm not speculating here. This is a discussion only. But, you know, it just struck me a little bit odd as why the friend makes such a... She knows in minute detail that she stopped taking the ball lost about 5 months ago. And, you know, because the ball was a nuisance. That to me was too much explanation. Now, and also the police say they know from telephonic inquiries. Now, I don't know if these phones have some sort of spirit level or very accurate GPS, because the police seem convinced that at exactly 9:20, after her last sighting here at 9:10, the phone was placed on the bench at 9:20. So maybe they know from the spirit level the phone was flat on a bench. Sorry, it's not a bench. Yeah, it's a bench at 9:30. So that seemed... I'm not sure how the police know that, but anyway. So that's an accurate time if we take that 9:20, the phone is then left on the bench. I'm not sure how accurate this sighting is, and I'm not sure how accurate the sighting is that happened here, bearing in mind that strange CCTV. Now, when I looked at this case, straight off the bat, I was thinking the closest place and the road access point where she disappeared is this Wyside Farm caravan park, right? There's a road here and there's some caravans. So that's the closest point. So for me, I would have looked at that. Now, only today, the police are looking at that. Only today, which is 2.5 weeks later. Or yesterday, I think. Now, the police say that the CCTV here was not working. And it would have captured everything. But there's a conflict because some people say the CCTV that wasn't working, that would have captured everything, is here. So is the CCTV that wasn't working there, which is near the Rowan Water, or is it here that it's not working? Because there are also stories that the woman who owns this caravan park was the one who discovered the phone and the dog, of which there's also a lot of conflicting evidence about who discovered exactly and how the dog was discovered with the phone, blah, blah, blah. But it's just interesting to note, is the CCTV ever working when one needs it? On 9/11 it wasn't working, I think 7/7 it wasn't working. When Millie Dowler was abducted, apparently the CCTV was facing a wall. All right, that's like logical. Guys, you in the UK, do you remember Sarah Payne, the little girl who disappeared? I think she was 6 and she was one of many siblings. They were out in a field and she disappeared. It was a man in a white van. Well, her father was apparently drinking partners of Levi Belfield, the guy who was eventually convicted of killing Millie Dowler. This is like strange stuff, isn't it? So anyway, I don't know what's going on with the CCTV, but we know that no CCTV was working. We also know that along Allotment Lane, there isn't apparently CCTV, and nor is there here. That's why police were appealing to people for dash cam footage, and they said that in the time between 9:10 and a 10-minute window to 9:20, there were 700 cars that went through this town. Now that is a nonsense. I mean, we're talking, for you guys who don't know, extremely rural area, a small town in Lancashire in the north of England. I find it hard to think there was that much traffic at 9:10. Also, that would mean 350 cars going this way, 350 going that way in a 10-minute window, doing between 20 and 30. They'd have to have been bumper to bumper. So that's a nonsense. Now, today something that comes out as well that's odd. Look at this. Now, look at the date, February the 4th, right? There was a tweet, and in this tweet it says Nicola Bulley and the missing fisherman. And if you read through all that, it talks about a man who's a local. He does this route often. On the Thursday before Nicola disappeared, he saw two men who were apparently going fishing in the area down by the Rowan Water, which I can go back and show you. He saw the men, I guess, around here because they were heading down to this area of the river. He said they were warmly dressed but almost overdressed in terms of hoods and hats and whatnot, and they didn't have much fishing equipment, which he thought was odd. He saw them on the Thursday and he also saw them on the Friday, but he hasn't seen them again. So he was talking about that on the 4th of Feb. Only today the police mentioned that in the public domain, that they're looking for these two suspicious people. But as you saw, from February the 4th, it was in the public domain. Then there's also this question mark over, who found the phone. Because first of all, it was a woman who recognized the dog but didn't know who it belonged to. So she took the dog home to her daughter, who recognized who the dog was, and then that led to them ringing the school, who rang the father or the partner. But then someone else said the dog had a tag, so it should have been identifiable by the tag immediately. And another person said the person who discovered the phone recognized the screensaver, knew it was Nicola's phone. So a lot of confusion to me over how the phone and harness of the dog and everything was discovered. But they do tell us, if anyone who doesn't know, the dog was bone dry, and a lot of people suggest that that kind of dog would have gone in the water because they're swimming dogs, to rescue or try and help the owner. If the owner has gone in, I mean, if you're following the case, they've pretty much exhausted the searching in the river option, although at one stage the police were searching in the Morecambe Bay. I wondered, are they going to search the Irish Sea? Are they going to extend the search to the Gulf of Mexico, maybe? Just in case. So that was kind of going on for a while. Now, in one of her posts on Facebook, which is another thing we must come to, she mentions being sorry she didn't take her gloves because it's so cold. But when the police described what she was wearing, which was kind of inaccurate, because once the CCTV of her at her car came out, it wasn't exactly how the police had described it. But anyway, won't dwell on that. I'm sure you've seen that yourself. But then no one ever mentioned the gloves. And nearly all of her pictures, her and her partner, even her partner this last week, always got these hats on, yet for some reason, no hat that day. No one's looking for gloves. They haven't found the Fitbit, which she always wore. But apparently some people said it hadn't synced anyway with her phone since the Tuesday before she disappeared. So it's a bit of a mystery of a Fitbit. I don't know much about them. Apparently they can be quite helpful in these circumstances, but if it has yielded anything, we haven't heard about it. And another thing I was saying that she would have had to have with her, that I've saying from the beginning, is her car keys, because she drove there. So why was I noticed for the first time today, her partner is saying he wants to contact Mercedes-Benz for help in maybe tracking the keys, right, to find her. Why did no one think of the keys before, even if she had gone in the river and drowned as the police hypothesis? Then why? Now, I don't want to be ghoulish and go on the Facebook page, but her Facebook page is fully visible. Now, she only joined Facebook September 21, 2021, which is kind of odd. Who kind of only joins Facebook then? Or maybe she had a previous page and whatever, then decided to start again. And she hadn't made any posts since December the 7th, although it appears, I hear, that she had been posting regularly about Halloween and a memorial for the Armistice Day and decorating the church, bonfire night, trips away. So she'd been regularly posting, but stopped December 7th. It's a question mark. And I just wonder why the Facebook page is public. Haven't the police wanted to shut it down and turn it off or something like that? And someone was saying to me she had made a post during one of her walks in that area there, where she found some abandoned sheep trapped on an island where a bit of the river was flooded. And she posted for someone to help the sheep, and she specifically made that post public. But now her whole profile's public, and there are lots of her kids on there, which I think is dangerous. I can't understand why no one's shut that down. It's almost like they want people to go and look at it. But it's odd because there's so many of the children and whatnot on there. So you think they'd shut it down. Some people said it was only a Facebook work profile, but I hear there are loads of pictures. There's only about 2 posts about mortgages, because she was a mortgage provider, for those who don't know. Mortgage analyst, forensic mortgage and mortgage auditing. Yeah, so it's strange. And then there's also the case of the abandoned house. Now, I don't think the abandoned house is such a big deal, but there is a very large sort of stately sort of home, 3-story, very large, spooky, old-fashioned looking building. You'd expect there to be some sort of, I don't know, murder mystery happening over there, which is apparently abandoned. But when the police went to look there, I think it was either on the Saturday morning or the Friday, the owner was there, and he hadn't been there for like ages, but he was actually there. He wouldn't let the police in. He said they needed a warrant. This is what I hear. And apparently it wasn't searched, but he said there was no one in there. But there was no real way of her to get from there to the building, to this abandoned house, very easily, because you can't cross the river apart from the bridge, which is all the way back here. So not sure if that is relevant. Okay, something else I found rather interesting. 2 things, okay. On her LinkedIn profile, no reviews at all. But there are a number of connections in the kind of hundreds, maybe 200s in terms of connections and followings, but no reviews. But she lists as her school, where she did her O-levels, William de Ferris School, which is in Essex. Now, there is no William de Ferris spelt Ferris school. I don't know if you want me to go to her LinkedIn, but you can look yourself. There's a William de Ferrers school spelt Ferrers. There's no William de Ferris school. Would you spell your school wrong? She did an art A-level at Thurrock College. But when you look up, Thurrock College was closed in 2011, which she went there before that. So, and it became something else. And before that, it was Thurrock and Basildon College, not just Thurrock College. If you look on Facebook, there's a page for Thurrock College, and there's some black and white pictures of old buildings that looked like it was around in the 50s. And she's born 1977. So she was there 96. So there's quite a question mark to me. One, the name of the school is spelt wrong. And the other school, well, doesn't exist in the way it's written there, because you would have to write Thurrock and Basildon College. So that's odd. Now, the superintendent in charge of the case, her name is Sally Riley of Lancashire Constabulary. She's chief super. Now, I've looked all over the site. It says here West Division, Blackpool, Flyde, Rye. So this should be the right division, or maybe it's Preston. If we look at West Division, you can see there's Karen Edwards, chief super. And if you look in the Preston, the chief super there is Stasio Oziowi. I think that's how you say it. You can look further on this website and find all the staff in the different divisions, and you can also search here for Sally Riley, and nothing comes up. So where does Sally Riley usually work? Now, I've Googled her. And I've gone to page 16 of Google. This was last week. It might have changed for results. I went to page 16 of Google. In all those pages, the only reference to a Sally Riley detective is in relation to Nicola Bulley, never any other case. And like I say, you can hunt yourself. Maybe you'll please prove me wrong. You can tell me where to find her. But our careers, help, advice, about us, your area. We look at Rye or Lancashire, Morecambe, local police stations. I just couldn't find her picture here anywhere. And I looked right through, couldn't find any reference to this lady. So I thought that was a little bit odd. And I thought the thing about Nicola's school was a little bit odd. Obviously, I'm not drawing any conclusions here. I'm just saying these are just things that I think will be interesting to you. Let's have a look at the charts. I have a chart for the morning of the disappearance, and let's do Nicola's birthday first, should we? Which is 12 October 77. Don't think that's personal information. Okay, so obviously, I wouldn't know what time she was born. But what I did do with this chart, if I just get back to it here, is I found it was very interesting that you had Sun conjunct North Node, conjunct Pluto, conjunct Mercury, and potentially conjunct Moon. This is set for 11:10 a.m. So this huge conjunction of planets there, conjunct Pluto, conjunct the North Node, almost like she had a date with destiny. almost like her life was destined to end in mystery and intrigue, and with Pluto there, the plot thickens. You know, I don't know, I mean, I'm not speculating, I'm talking about astrology here and what the chart says, but it's rather interesting, isn't it? Now, because I've set her time at 11:10 a.m., the progressed Pluto, Moon, potentially, and Mercury combination by solar arc has reached conjunction with the ascendant in Scorpio, which is very interesting. That would sort of trigger these events. There's not an awful lot going on by transit in terms of this chart, except potentially Saturn triggering Saturn in Aquarius here, opposing Saturn in Leo. And Pluto's already finished there. There is an issue with Neptune. Let's see, where's Venus? Venus, 24 degrees of Virgo. Neptune is basically opposite Venus, and was last year Neptune in Pisces, opposite Venus in Virgo. I'll just leave it there. You astrology guys can think more about that one. Otherwise, we're into the realms of speculation. And something else interesting I wanted to show you here. Yeah, look, Neptune in Sagittarius in the first. It's an interesting placement, isn't it? I feel in some ways this chart reflects what we know about her personality as reported in the media. Scorpio rising, and also with Mars, Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th, would fit like someone who's in mortgages. Apparently on her LinkedIn, she said she was very analytical, and that's why she'd got into working in, I think it was forensic mortgages and audit. So that all fits. All these 10th house planets as well kind of show a lot of ambition, contact with people in power, which we don't know much about. If Venus really is on the midheaven here, it shows someone who also worked a lot in PR and was quite well liked in the community and well known. Now, they said she wasn't very well known in this particular town, although her husband was very well known. Don't know how that works out. I know he's from the area going way back in time, whereas she was originally from Essex. But bearing in mind she walks the dog there every day, nearly every day, and her children go to that school, you would have thought she'd be very well known in that village. I think they'd only recently moved into their current house because it's a new build, and it's not even on Google Maps yet, so maybe that's why she wasn't that well known. But she does look like a sociable, friendly person, but maybe a lot more ambitious than what we know. Now, on this Teams call she was in, she wasn't required to contribute, be seen. She just had to kind of listen in. So it didn't really matter if no one saw her and she didn't contribute. Now, I would have thought that at the age of 45, she'd reached a point in management, possibly with all the planets lining up like that, especially in Libra, where she'd be inclined to be more of an important person in her work, needing to be heard from. So, you know, I don't know. That doesn't make total sense to me. Although maybe here with Neptune in the first, there is a reluctance to lead and a desire to be more private, right? Because, you know, Scorpio rising, quite private. We know she loved her walks and was quite fit. You know, the Fitbit, she was a good swimmer, all that sort of stuff. You know, my original thoughts of if she had fallen into the river and they said she was a good swimmer, well, you wouldn't be a good swimmer if you'd had like a sudden event that had caused you to maybe lose consciousness, would you? So there was something that reminds me, something else to say. Now, I just want to speak about the chart on that day, which I had up somewhere here, free chart. This was the chart for the time, approximate time of disappearance. Could be slightly later. You'll see that the ascendant for that, it was the 27th of January, about 9:20 at that place, St. Michael's on Rye. Ascendant Pisces. Neptune rising in Pisces, which is all about the water. No wonder they've been searching the water. Maybe one day she will be found in the water. Maybe, who knows, you know, maybe. But so much Neptune here with disappearance, mystery, it's all murky. Loads of stuff going on in the first house as well. If we assume there was for astrological purposes, assume there was a second party here, that would be ruled by the descendant. And I want to look at the fixed stars that are on the descendant and the fact that Mercury is on 12 degrees of Capricorn, Mercury the ruler of the descendant. I want to talk about that. I also want to mention Moon is at 22 degrees of Aries. Aries does suggest violence. In the first house, violence to the person. And remember that 22 degrees, kill or be killed. You know, just saying. Quite interesting. Also, do an anagram of Nicola Bulley. and you'll get one very long word, which was quite interesting, bearing in mind everything we've been through in the last 3 years. If you do an anagram of Nicola Bulley, you get the word inoculable. I'd never heard of it, but it means someone who cannot be vaccinated for whatever reason. I mean, that's neither here nor there. It's just interesting for me that her name should break down into an anagram of that when vaccination's been such a big deal, hasn't it? And someone else did an anagram where it said an old club. I've just put that out there. I'm not going to pontificate further specifically on that, but just interesting to know. Okay, before we return, let's just once again look at this map, because what I'm going to say, I thought to myself at the beginning a connection to this church, because look, it's the last place that she walks past. So she parks here to drop the children at the school. She'll walk past this church and then crosses the bridge there and walks along this path like this to the bench. We don't know if she ever got to the bench. We don't know. We don't. Because this witness, I don't think we can 100% rely on. It would have to be tested in court whether visibility was great enough, where he was sure of the time and sure it was her. Could have been someone else. There are loads of dog walkers. You know, as I said, with that lady in red, it's suspect she was seen here. Did she ever get as far as that, or did something happen in the region? You know, the church, and the church, when you look at the back of the church, backs onto the abandoned building, a distance away there, but not too far. So let's just look again at this chart. Now, that's the wrong one. Let's get the other one here. This is the chart of the time of potential disappearance. And we have there 13 and a bit degrees of Virgo on the descendant, and on the ascendant we've got 13 and a bit degrees of Pisces. Now, if we go to fixed stars and we look at 13 degrees of Pisces, we get fixed star, Ashenar, and it talks about public office, beneficence, and religion. It talks again about tradition, high offices, especially of the church. Interesting. Now, let's go back to the chart. We look at the ruler of the descendant. Mercury is on 12 degrees of Capricorn, which is more accurate because then we can play with the time, because whether it was earlier or later, you still got this Virgo on the descendant. So let's look at what it says for 12 degrees of Capricorn on the fixed stars. It's quite a good site, this Astrology King, for fixed stars. I do tend to look here. Did I say it was 12 degrees? We've got Nunki. It's a nice name, Nunki, fixed star. What is that all about on 12 degrees of Capricorn? Well, Nunki is also connected to religious mind, thoughtful, philosophical, writing on religious or similar subjects. And it talks about Latin name, and I think it also goes on to mention high office if you read through here. Religion, business, state or foreign affairs. Interest in ships and airplanes. Well, you know, the husband was in aeronautical and electrical engineering connected to aeroplanes. So it's slightly interesting, those connections, isn't it? Let's have a quick look at what it says for Virgo, 15 degrees. I don't know if there was a potential there, a potential lead on that one. I forgot about that. Mizar, let's have a quick look. Or there's also Coxa. There's Mizar. Orb is 2 degrees 10, so it's definitely a good orb. I'll just see what that said as well. Yes, there we go. So this is the degree on the descendant, which would be the other person, the third party, if there is one. And what does it say? It says here, prosperity, rank, and influence. So anyway, obviously this is just astrology for anyone watching, and we don't really know, and we aren't speculating. But there we've got 3 indications of rank and influence in whatever went on here, and connected to the church. There were apparently pictures on her Facebook where she was at a church event for Remembrance Day and decorating the tree. I don't know if it was that church or the church in the village Inskip where she lives. So guys, I hope you found that interesting, because, you know, I came up with some things that I didn't expect. I should just look on my notes and see if I had anything else. Yeah, we don't know why the dog didn't follow her, but there's a gate at the bench. So if she went back along this lane, for example, if she walks from here back that way, say she got to that position and had the dog off the lead and was playing with the dog and had her phone on the works call, and then for some reason went through the gate and back, the dog couldn't follow her if she went back there, if she or someone else closed the gate, because there was a gate there. Funny, we've never heard from the work colleagues who on the team call. Not that they were necessarily interacting with her, or the boss, or anyone like that. And a lot of people are making a lot of the phone being found at 9:33. I'm not sure. And yeah, so guys, I'm something different. I don't think anyone has covered it from the same angle that I have. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope this doesn't cause anyone any upset, because it's only an analysis. We're not speculating, pointing any fingers at any specific person. It's a case in the public domain. I fully accept that the police haven't released everything to the public, and I haven't speculated at all on what could have happened or who it might have been. I've just speculated on symbolism and energies and maps and the facts and what we are curious about finding more about. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys.